Committee, including the following educators from Lubbock ISD. Jenny Pomeroy, English 2. Lindsay will come in. Tricia Stevens, grade 5 math. You're good. Donna Hamlin, grade 7 writing. Tasha Gibson, algebra 1. Amber McClemens, grade 3 math. Jackie Mans, grade 6 writing. Karen McGinty, algebra 1. Holly Gilman, grade 5 science. Lindsay Fitzhugh, English 1 reading. Fletcher Schmidt, English 2 reading. And Stacy Stevenson, English 2 writing. We want to thank all these wonderful educators for their time and their experience.
Yes.
Can I swap places with somebody now?
Good call. And they'll do the by herself too. They'll share both of them so you can have it. No more? That's it? Yes.
Okay. It's like Sunday school. Nobody goes to church after Sunday school.
Station.
Before we move into the workshop portion of the meeting, do we have any members of the public who have signed in to address the board regarding a posted agenda item? Moving on to the workshop, first item is safety and security. I'd like to invite Chief Tiarina to the podium to tell us what's going on.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Chief Teherina.
First, thanks for this opportunity to let you know what's going on. Police department, there's a lot going on. I can promise you that. So I guess we'll start by, I'll break down my department for you. So the way our department's broken down, I have 32 full-time officers. Actually, I did this PowerPoint last week. Since then, I hired another officer, so it's up to 33.
33?
came to work for us and started Monday. We have 33 full-time officers. 3 of those are sergeants. And we have 1 state-certified telecommunicator or dispatcher. That dispatcher was hard to find. It took about 3 months for me to get a good one, and we finally have one. So,
Nice.
she's gonna work out. She's from Lynn County, and she's happy to be here. She likes the hours. In other words, she was working midnights in Lynn County. So, yeah, it's a lot better than Lynn County. The way the city's broken up to, I have it broken up into 3 zones. In each zone, there's a sergeant and a squad of officers that patrol that zone. The middle schools and the high schools in those zones, they always have an officer present. There's an officer, if it's school hours, you're gonna have a police officer there on the middle schools and the high schools. I'm working towards hiring more officers so that I can start assigning officers to elementaries full-time, but we're not there yet, so we're getting there. So the middle schools and the high schools always have an officer. The elementary schools, they're divided amongst the rest of my police officers. So each police officer probably has maybe 2, 3 at the most elementaries that they have to patrol. So they'll go over there and visit each school every day and take calls for service at those schools. They also respond to calls for service in the district, in the entire district. And just so you know, last spring was my first semester, my first full semester as a chief. So I put some stats that we had last spring. We responded to 724 on-duty calls. And those are the kind of calls where my officers actually see something and they intervene, or they have some kind of law enforcement interaction. So it's something that they see on site. That's 724. We had 979 calls for service, and these are the calls that come from the campuses. They call us for whatever it is. We had 979 of those, and this is just the spring semester.
Wow.
We had 5,048 community contacts, and those are the kind where my officers will go up and talk to somebody, or somebody will come up to an officer and let them know about a problem that they're having in the district. We had 5,048 of those. I can tell you that this fall semester, we're well on our way to topping those numbers. We've been really busy for the last 2.5 months. I think that we're gonna blow away those numbers. I also have 50 other officers that assist from LPD, the sheriff's office, and other departments that will fill in on days where I have them assigned to the elementary, so they'll fill in on days that they can, where their schedule permits. So sometimes, a lot of times it'll work out to where an elementary will have an officer there, whether it's us or them, all week long. So I'm steadily recruiting those guys as well to help us out until we can get our numbers up. Okay, so before I get into some of the things that I'm trying, let me give a disclaimer. So some of the things that we're about to talk about, I've been trying, and they've been working out really great. Some of the other things that I'm trying, they're in the test phase. I don't know if they're gonna work out yet. If they don't work out, I need to figure out a way to blame my sergeants, but we're trying some things. The first thing is, I actually started this when I was a sergeant. I created a gang specialist unit, and the reason I did that is because there's been a rise in gun violence, gun threats, and a lot of times it has to do with gang members. You know, Lubbock is just like any other district in the United States. We have gangs in our district. That's nothing that anybody doesn't know. So I have 3 officers that are specially trained with gangs. 2 of them actually came from the TAG, the Texas Anti-Gang Center, to here. So they already have a lot of knowledge about gangs. So I have them. What I did is, before, if one of our students was involved in some kind of shooting incident or something after hours or during the weekend, the Metro or the TAG would investigate it, and then we wouldn't get any information from them until days later. So now that I have these officers, they get to actually engage with these other detectives in the investigation, and we get firsthand knowledge. which really helps because if one of our students is a suspect or a witness or involved party or a victim, we find out really quick and we can have security set for schools that these students attend. So it's a really good thing. They've been really busy as well. Metro and the tag will call them all the time about stuff at all hours. I think they built a bunch of these smaller communities around Lubbock. I think the furthest investigation we've assisted with is Dallas PD on some of our stuff, and it really helps because they call me and they let me know, hey, these kids are involved. These kids go to so-and-so school, and I can set security for that school and make it a little bit safer. And then at least I can answer some questions with the principals and admin and whatnot. But that's not all they're there for. There's a misconception out there that LISD police is more like a prison or school-to-prison pipeline. They're always talking about that. You don't help these guys. You don't help these kids. You just want them to go to jail. Well, that's not really true. So I'm trying to show that community that that's not what we're about. So we also want to be a resource for these parents and these kids that want to get out of gangs. And we've done it. When I was at the LPD, I was on the gang unit, and I always had, it's hard to get out of because sometimes gangs they're generational. They've been in gangs and their grandfathers were in gangs. So it's hard to get out of a gang, but my guys actually have training on how to help them get out of gangs. So that's what we're there for as well. We're not just there to investigate gang crimes. We're trying to help these guys and inform them. And of course, this is on top of their other duties of protecting the schools and patrolling the schools. So they do this a lot on their own, not on their own time. They do this a lot on after hours. Okay. So everybody heard of the stabbing in Frisco that occurred earlier in the year. And, these large venues. I've been studying active shooter threats or stabbings or anything violent in large venues. That's something that I used to do all the time as an instructor at the LPD. So I changed the way that we do things a little bit, especially at our football stadiums, Plains Capital. I put 2 officers when I have enough officers to cover that game. I'll have 2 officers that will dress in plain clothes, and they embed themselves in the crowd, and they act like fans in there watching. So when I studied these events, there was always signs that something bad was going to happen, whether it's a crowd forming or people getting loud. So what I have these officers do is they'll go to these games, and they will just observe. And if they see something like that happen, they'll move towards that area and they'll observe. And they don't do anything. They don't intervene, and there's imminent violence about to happen. That's all they're there for. They're not there for vapes or anything small like that. If something like that is there, they'll call the uniform guys, and the uniform guys will take care of that. The sole purpose that they're there for is to prevent violent incidents from occurring. So far, we haven't had to use them, which is good, but they have caught vapes and stuff like that. But I'm gonna try that for a while and see if it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I think it's a good idea. I talked to it with my sergeants, and they believe that as well. Another thing that I'm doing is I'm getting fellow officers certified in bike patrol. When I was at LPD, we had bike patrol, and those are perfect for football games, cross-country meets, and stuff like that. So I have an instructor at LPD that's a friend of mine. So he's gonna go ahead and certify them in bicycle patrol. I have another friend from the PD that actually is gonna donate bikes and equipment to us so that we can have some bicycle patrol. He doesn't want to be named, and he doesn't want anybody to know who it is, but he's gonna donate all the equipment for our bicycle patrol. So I just have to get my patrol officers certified, just like at the football stadium. The only way to get to the other side is either walk through the field or drive around. These guys can get over there in less than a minute on a bicycle. We tested it already, so I think it's gonna work. So I'm looking forward to that. And also, I'm utilizing our K-9 officer a lot more as a deterrent. When you go to a game, you might see them standing out there. So a lot of times people will see that and they'll leave contraband in the car and won't bring it into the stadium. So I've been trying to utilize him a lot more. So hopefully they work. These things work. So we will see. Okay, and this next one, training. It's really big with me. My whole career, I've been training other agencies, other officers. It's something that I really like doing. When I came here to LISD, there wasn't any active shooter instructors. I was the only one. Since then, I've sent 8 officers, and they became instructors. First, they got to pass a certification with us, and then if they do well, then we'll send them to an instructor school. So I have 8 active shooter instructors, and these guys they've been helping other smaller districts, and actually go through alert. They'll call them to help them train other officers as well, which is good because you get to see what these other agencies are doing, and you get to make these contacts with these other agencies, and in turn they'll come over here and train us, and we'll train them. So it's just a different way to see the way other agencies do things. So they've been called pretty regular. They get called pretty regular. So and then also I have my officers engaged in cross training with other agencies as well, and it can be from anything from firearms to tactics to the academics to school-based law enforcement. So they'll cross-train with other agencies, and I only do that so that we can build those relationships and those contacts with other agencies. And seeing that Lubbock is the largest district from here to the Metroplex or to El Paso, I think that we should be the hub for training in this region, and I'm working towards that. And I think that as we grow, that's where it's going to be, because a lot of these smaller agencies, they'll send officers to ride with us and see how we do things. Or there's a lot of smaller towns that are starting their LISD police department or their ISD police departments, so they come over here to see how we do things. That happens quite a bit, actually. Okay. I also implemented an on-call list. It's something that should have been done several years ago, and it's because in the past, if you needed Lubbock ISD police assistance after hours or during the weekends, what you would do is you would try to contact the chief. If you couldn't contact the chief, then you would have to try to find one of the sergeants, and that just takes time. And a lot of times on the weekends, it's because one of our students was injured in a car wreck, or they're part of a shooting or something like that, and they have no way of finding out who they are. They'll call us. So it's just a way to streamline. I know President Curry's probably looking at me like, Chief's just trying to get out of those late night calls, but that's not, I promise you that's not the reason. The late night calls don't really bother me. It's the looks my wife gives me when I get those calls. So here with that, we have continuous coverage 24/7. So if you need Lubbock ISD at any time, you just call me. I get all the calls anyway, and you'll get whatever kind of assistance you need. Okay, so mental health officers is something that I'm getting. I think that we need. We had mental health officers at Lubbock Police Department, at the Sheriff's Department as well. All it is officers that are specially trained to handle mental health-related crisis. But there's a certification process, and it takes a while to get them certified. So I have several officers that are going through that right now. My goal is to have all of our officers certified as mental health officers. For now, I have, I think it's 5 that are going through the process. Once they're certified, they can give the rest of my officers some training. And we look forward to working with Kami as well. Kami and her people, those are some heroes right there because they do a lot of good work. And my officers can learn a lot from them on handling mental health crisis. So we're going to, in the future, I feel that we're going to train with them a lot. And the last thing I have is community involvement. So when I took this job and we had our first meeting, I told my officers that I wanted to be more involved in the community. And they all agreed. So we've been involved in lots of walks, runs, and other events held by organizations that serve the community. It's good that I think that the community and the students, they see us outside of the school setting and see that we're actually regular people. As a little fourth grader told me the other day, hey, you're a regular person, because they saw me at Walmart. But yeah, so if you guys know of anything that's coming up, community related, you think that it might be good for us to attend, let us know, because we're all about it. And my guys are ready. Like I said, they don't really enjoy the run so much, but they enjoy the walks. But, yeah, anything like that you want us to get involved in, just let us know, and we're good. And I think that's all I have. Any questions or
I have about 10 of
suggestions?
them I wrote.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to thank you, because you know what? We've never heard half of the stuff that you told us. And these are the things that I think you and I have talked about, but you had some great ideas and you just put them into plan and into space. The only thing I didn't hear you say, but I know that you do, because that's the first thing I ask, mentor our students. They don't always deserve to go to Project Intercept, JJA, or this system. As you said, the pipeline, and you're right, sometimes there's a misconception of that. I went to MASBA and I sent you some stuff from MASBA, the promise that I talked about the other day during our student meeting. There's other stuff that I'd like to look at, because you guys are doing it, with the exception of where they're able to expunge these kids if they get in trouble for having the weed and whatnot, those sort of things, and they're able to do that. And that's something, if that happens here, I'd like to see that, if you can start something like that. But you'd have to look at that program. It's phenomenal. These kids get a coin after the 90 days, but the mom, one of the parents, has to be involved the whole 90 days. They do community service on the weekends. They do events. They do everything you just mentioned with your officers, plain clothes. They go with them and do that. But they have those officers as a mentors. That was the only thing that.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, and just so you, yeah, my officers do that. They talk to these guys. If we actually have to make an arrest, the officers they'll meet with those students and explain to them what they did and why they shouldn't do it. So we try to mentor them as we go. Some of them listen, some of them don't, but we try. Yes, ma'am.
The only one they're not able to help out is when they're threatening the school. That's a done deal. They're gone,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
And
we
that's
take that
understandable. That's exactly. But thank you for all you've done. You have brought so much energy to this force here. So thank you for all you've done. You don't understand.
Yes, ma'am.
This was very uplifting, comforting, with us having visited yesterday with the Dunbar staff. And just hearing this is very reassuring. I mean, I can see where this will definitely, all that you all are doing, it's uplifting. It's comforting. Feel safer hearing that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I continue to be impressed by all that you're doing, and I know prevention and all the things that you've put, the programs you've put in place is important. You can't stop everything, so your planning, your resources, and just what you're doing with your staff is so important. So thank you for all the training that you put in place. And I'm just curious, tell us, you know, I'm very concerned about the gang violence in our community. It is not just at our campuses, it is everywhere throughout our community, and it is much of the crime that's happening. How many gangs do you know off the top of your head? Do we have, not like 3 or 4, or?
3 or 4?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
We have, actually in just ISD, Lubbock ISD, we have 64 different gangs, and citywide, there's probably, I'd say 500.
About 100. So it's not just, yeah, it's
And
little
what'll
pockets.
happen is, gang members will have altercations, and then they leave that gang and they start up their own gang. So
Yeah.
it's always growing.
It's tough. It's a huge thing. So your collaboration with LPD and with LSO is critical, I think, and the tag unit to try to address and get those, our kids and our families on the right path. And it's tough. It's a tough job. So thank you.
Yeah, Chief, like some of the colleagues have said, the thing that I'm most proud of, and I think, give Chief Mendoza some credit for this as well, the shift in how you guys are viewed and how you interact with our schools and our community, and I think you've improved upon the foundation that was laid, and so just for your team, the fact that they're always talking to people, they're more of a they're more of a participant than, you know, coming off as an officer or, you know, some type of authoritarian. It's cool to see them just part of the school or part of the event, even though I know they have a job to do when stuff does happen. But I think them embedding themselves as part of the team has helped out greatly. And you know, everyone that works for you is always friendly. They seem to be engaged. And I think those are some of the things that impact the schools the most, in my opinion, from the standpoint of what you guys do. And I appreciate what you've done to add more people to the force. I know it's a challenge to find quality folks, qualified folks, but I love where you're headed, and you know, we'll get there at some point to the number that you ultimately want to be at. Because it would be nice to have, you know, it'd be nice to have a full-time on every campus, just for a standpoint of, again, them embedding themselves as part of that campus, just like our janitorial staff become part of that family, and our, you know, Airmark staff become part of that family. And so, and then lastly, I would just say, I have loved seeing, and you may hate to hear this, your officers or sergeants may not, but I've loved to see some of your staff on a regular basis in kind of, I don't know what y'all call it, dressed down, casual police clothing. I just think it's more inviting, and it sets a tone for the kids that's a little bit different than, you know, the full button up. So they didn't pay me to say that.
I'm sure about that. I hear about it every week.
Well, I'm sorry if I just
No, you're good.
if I just put an exclamation point on that, but appreciate you, and
Thank you, sir.
like they've said, your energy is contagious, man. That smile all the time is it's a welcome.
Yes, sir.
Look at him smile. He don't even smile. Look what you did today.
I know, because I'm looking at Chief.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Questions? And I invite any input, or if you have an idea, just holler at me and we'll see if we can't make it work. I'm always open for different ways to handle things.
Awesome.
Thanks for your work. I won't reiterate all the points my colleagues made, but I've gotten to know you fairly well during this process, and appreciate your work. I think the recruitment aspect, you growing the force, probably has a lot to do with your leadership and leadership style. I hate that you guys are getting busier and busier as time goes on, but with your background, I think, and temperament, we've got the right person in the right spot for the job. So thanks for your work.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
I would love to just commend Chief. The reason why we've been able to add so many people to the force is because they want to work for him. You're spot on, John. And as a member of our cabinet team, Chief has brought a very valuable perspective to that team, and I'm grateful for his expertise, his connections in the community, everything he is doing to keep Lubbock ISD safe. So thank you, Chief. I
Thank
appreciate
you,
you.
Dr.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Now, I believe Shane Anderson, Director of School Safety and Security, he's got half the slides that Chief did.
Chief actually got a few more slides than I did, just letting y'all know. But
Okay.
good morning, board, Dr. Rolo, Misty Reber, Dr. Wilkins. Thank y'all for having me today. And I'm going to start off just by talking about the responsibilities of safety and security. And Chief Tiarina and myself, we work hand in hand. Our offices are right beside each other. A lot of times I'm gaining a lot of the information, and then we have to talk, and then he'll go execute the plan of whatever emergency that we're looking at. So my office does handle a lot of the emergency management that we have. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're at an elementary school and a student has a seizure in the middle of the hallway. All right, what we've done is we've trained the staff, the teachers, the principals what to do in this situation. They're going to do one of the drills that they have on their card right here that every student, every teacher, faculty member has. They're going to put the school in what's called a hold. And what a hold does is it basically tells all students, teachers, they're going to stay in their classrooms for a while. That means there's something going on in the hallway that they do not need to be out there for. And what that does, it gives the nurse a chance to go to the student with the seizure in the hallway, and the hallway's clear. It allows EMS to come in and go straight to the student in the hallway with the hallways clear. And another thing, I always like to protect the privacy of our students as well. You know, if you're having a seizure in the hallway, you do not want all your classmates to see you either in that state. So again, We have these procedures in place, one, for efficiency, and two, just to make sure we handle the situation the best way we can. And that's just one example of emergency management. We had one yesterday. One of our schools had a power outage for, what was it, about 2 hours or so? 2 hours. We have plans in place for that. Technology will send battery backup so we can keep the cameras up. And speaking of cameras, most schools have dozens, high schools have hundreds, where we can see every school, every hallway, what's going on all during the day. And in my office, the cameras are always up. We're always checking to see what's going on in all the hallways. So with emergency management, there's plan for fires, there's plans for tornadoes, there's plans if there's threats inside the building, which you guys would know is a lockdown, threats outside the building, which we call a secure right there. It's one of the things, training the faculty, training the students, and just letting everybody know what's going on, at least have a role with all these examples as well. So that's emergency management right there. Next thing that we look at, it's called behavior assessments, and there's two types of behavior assessments. On one hand, we have suicide assessments, and on the other hand, we have threat assessments. And basically what the state of Texas has done is they've come up with a software system where we put these threats into so the state can help keep up with them. But what this paperwork does is it allows the counselors, when they handle a suicide assessment, or it allows the principals and assistant principals when they handle a threat assessment, it gives them a correct order of things they need to do and when they need to do and how they need to do it. Let me give you an example for this one. Let's pretend you're an assistant principal for a second and a student makes a threat against another student. Okay, it's important that the assistant principal follows all the steps. Let's take the victim for a second. Somebody made a threat against that victim. Okay, it's the assistant principal's job to tell the victim that a threat was made against them. Not all threats are made to somebody's face. They could be written down on a piece of paper. They could be electronic and things like that, as that is fairly common. So the assistant principal has to let the student know, but also they have to call the parent of the victim. Let the parent of the victim know, hey, there was a threat made against your child today at school. And then they'll go through kind of the process of everything that they tell them, what's going to happen next steps, so on and so forth with that. So we'll talk more about the behavior assessments later in this presentation as I talk about the software system. Also, we have a lot of emergency equipment. I want you to think about any time you went up to a school, you parked your car, you were going up to the front door, it's door number 1, and you push the intercom system. Okay, my staff, we make sure that all that stuff is working so that the ladies in the main office know who's out there so you can talk into it. Then you went into the secure vestibule, which our last bond helped pay for, so that you were in the building, but you're really not totally in the building. You do not have access to the whole building. You have access to that one room. Inside that secure vestibule, you're using our school safe ID system where you're using your driver's license to check in, so we know exactly every single person that's entering our building. And then the ladies in the office can look up the student, can get the student, or you can go in and take your kid their lunch and things like that. Also, this school safe ID is attached to the National Sex Offender Registry, so we know if there's a sex offender trying to get into our building as well. And again, we have processes for all these things. What we do when a parent is a sex offender and they're coming in and have a meeting with for their child, there is processes for these things. So that's just some of the equipment. We're also in charge of exterior doors. There's 2,000 exterior doors in Lubbock ISD. I want you to think back to Uvalde, the shooting at Uvalde. One of the reasons that happened because there was an exterior door that was not locked and shut. So I actually have a staff member that goes around, actually have 2 of them, one full-time, one part-time. They go around and check all 2,000 exterior doors during the course of the week. If one's broken, we put in a ticket. We get somebody out there ASAP to fix it. Was it the hinge? Was it the card reader? I can name about 10 other door terms that I did not know before this job of what could possibly be wrong with that door. And we keep track of them. What doors do we need to replace? I had a couple grants last year where we spent over $2 million replacing and fixing different things on doors for this district. But again, 2,000 doors is a lot. If you're replacing the frame and the whole door, that can cost $25,000, just to kind of throw a number at you right there. So these are things that I'm always looking at, thinking about what can we do better. I'm visiting with vendors all the time. What's the newest safety and security equipment out there? And just kind of figuring out what is going to be the future of safety equipment for Lubbock ISD. Number 4, I think drills are very important. And students do these drills from pre-K all the way up to 12th grade. Naturally, fire drills are mandated by the state. Lockdown drills are mandated by the state. Every drill now that's starting last year has been mandated by the state. In the lockdown drill, we actually have to get in before the month of August is over so that they have that practice just in case it happens early in the school year. So, again, this isn't everything that my department does, but these are kind of the big highlight things that we spend a lot of our time doing. There's me. I have a manager that helps me with these sort of things. If I'm at a meeting, so she can step in and make sure that the beat's not lost or anything, that's all good. I have a secretary and a clerk that keep up with all these things as well. You know, if a door's reported at a school, I want to make sure that door's fixed, and somebody's going to check to make sure that door's fixed. So I have a team that helps me do that. I want to kind of get into the weeds a little bit about a couple of our software programs that we have, just so that you guys have an idea of what the students and faculty have at their fingertips. One of the things we have started at Lubbock ISD, it's called a See Something, Say Something culture. There's actually a week where we have a big training on this at all the schools in the spring, and also some videos we show at the start of the school year and after Christmas. So basically, See Something, Say Something is we want students to recognize when something's not right. Is another student being bullied? Did another student talk about having a weapon on campus? Did another student have cut marks on their arm? Did another student talk about killing themselves the next day at their house or something like that? These are things we want students to talk about with a trusted adult. All right, here's the thing. Will all students just go up to a trusted adult and just tell them these things? And the answer is no, not all students will do that. So what we've implemented is a software system called Stop It. And we've had Stop It for about 6 years now, been here for a while. And students can get on their Chromebook. Before their Chromebook, they were getting on their phones and doing it too, but they still get on their phones at nighttime and report it on there. And what it allows them to do, in a couple clicks, they can get to the Stop It website. They can report, hey, little Susie in first period said that she felt like harming herself tonight. They could put in all that information. They click the submit button, and the Stop It will go to the principals of their school, the counselors of their school, my department, chief, and all his sergeants. And so basically what we start doing is I'll assign this. I'll make sure, hey, principal of given school, let's make sure we talk to this student. I just got to Stop It in. And then there's notes that they'll place in there. I can even message the person that put in the Stop It to get some more detail. Sometimes they leave out a name. Sometimes I want to know, what time did you hear this? There's even a place for them to put screenshots if it's something that they saw in a text thread or on TikTok or so on and so forth. We get probably 15 to 20 Stop It's a day. So it is being used. It is being used with fidelity. Is every Stop It we get the biggest deal in the world? Is it? No, but I'm glad the students feel comfortable sharing whatever secret is that they have with us. So the See Something, Say Something culture with the anonymous reporting, plus the principal going through the investigation, we can help solve some of these problems before they get even bigger. And then we can start tracking the findings of how many suicides, how many weapons and things like that. And so, again, sometimes the police officers find a weapon or find something that could look like a weapon. Sometimes they don't. You know, it's just different. It's just different every time. Sometimes it's just kids talking, and it turned out to be nothing. So that's Stop It. Okay, the state of Texas, TEA, has put out a new software system that every single school district in the state of Texas is using. This software system is called Sentinel. And what Sentinel does is it allows us to house a lot of our safety and security documents in one place. So earlier I talked about threat and suicide assessments. Okay, combined, those are called behavior assessments. We have to enter those into Sentinel. So I want you guys to think about this example I'm going to give you for a second. You have a student at a school who threatens another student. Okay, this information gets out, other students hear about it, parents hear about it, things like this. The student that did the threatening, this does happen often, decides they don't want to be at that school anymore. They transfer schools. They might even transfer school districts. Before Sentinel was there, it wasn't always promised that the paperwork of the threat that that student made would go to the next school. But now with Sentinel, if a student transfers into our school district and made a threat at another school district, we get that paperwork. And if that student had a safety plan, we can implement that safety plan immediately when that student attends or enrolls in our school district. Same thing, our Sentinel paperwork will also go with that student when they go to another school. It also lets the state track every school district. Did every school do their fire drill for the month of August? Did they do their lockdown drill? Where all the door checks? Did every exterior door get checked? All this is state law that it has to be checked on a weekly basis. So Sentinel is holding all that information and kind of allows TEA to check all those things. Okay, after hours. I'm very similar to Chief. I do work 24/7. The Stop It app that I showed you earlier, if the Stop It is at a severe category, if a student is saying, I am going to kill myself, something like that, Stop It gives me a phone call. Whether it's during the day, whether it's 2 in the morning, and I have processes in place for that. First thing I do if I get that phone call, and I do get them at 2 in the morning, I will immediately open up Frontline, I will find the students' parents' names, and I will give them a call no matter what time it is, to let them know what I'm getting. If I can't get the students' parents, I will call Lubbock Police Department, and they'll go do a welfare check on that student right then and there. Okay, it's a process I got set up quick. I've got a laptop right beside my bed. Pull it over, open it up, get it going, because I do think time is very important with all that. So another software system, I don't want to cover everything today. We have one called Lightspeed that as students type or search anything on their Chromebooks, if they search up anything that they shouldn't be looking for, guns, violence, it sends me an email as well. And Lightspeed does the same thing as Stop It. They will call me 24 hours a day on instances as well. So we're taking care of our students after hours as well as we get this information in. Another thing with my department is we do have 24-hour security at Lubbock ISD. I have 8 people that, because the police officers are off at 5 o'clock every night. Sometimes they do games and things like that, but after 5 we have nighttime security. And so if they try to call the police or they try to call our station or our office, it will go to their cell phone. So at 24 hours a day, if you try to call police, safety, and security, somebody is going to answer the phone for you. And they'll take the messages and help out with different problems. But it's also good for safety. I want you to think about a Friday night. Let's say your high school football team went up to Amarillo and played. Game started at 7:30, over with 9:30 or 10. They're back midnight to 1 o'clock after they eat. What my nighttime security does is they will go to that high school, make sure the pom squad, make sure the band, make sure the cheerleaders, make sure the football team, that they're all getting in safe. If a coach needs into the building, they forgot their key or something like that, and just watch the students as they go to their cars and things like that. So just other things that we've thought about that we just need to make sure safety's happening at all times. So that's some of the things that happens after hours as well. Briefly, people want to talk about lockdowns. If a gun is ever brought into school, if somebody is trying to harm students, this is something we practice all the time. So there's before education and drills that we do. But I always tell teachers, I tell students, the safest place you could be is in a locked classroom. Okay, a gunman does not get into locked classrooms. Okay, so all interior doors in Lubbock ISD, if there are students in that classroom, that door is locked. All right, if a lockdown button is pushed or if a lockdown is activated on Crisis Go, which is the app we use to start drills, the door should already be closed. Teacher will double check their door. There's a saying, lock slides out of sight. Students get away from the door, they stay quiet, and they know not to open that door for any reason. When the lockdown is over, actually an officer will come in and escort those students out of the classroom at that time. All right, so these are plans we put into place, videos have been made, etc. We practice them. After a lockdown, we have a thing called reunification. And with reunification, what that means is if we ever have an active shooting at a school, that's technically now a crime scene. Okay, we don't want parents coming to pick up their students at the crime scene. So what we do is we will put these students on a bus and send them to an alternate location, and that's where we will reunite the parents and the students if an active shooter situation ever happens. I always say practice for the worst and hope for the best. So a lot of people at central office help me with this, and we do have monthly meetings where we talk and practice different things with reunification. So we want to make sure that that happens and goes very flawlessly. Last things, I'm always thinking about the future. Different new technologies out there that I'm looking to get. Most people wear these lanyards right here. Different companies have actually made a lockdown button that you can put on these lanyards. You hold it down for 8 to 10 seconds, however I want to program it, and it could start a lockdown quickly. That means every teacher that has this would be able to start a lockdown quickly. Right now, they have to take out their phone, open their phone, go to the app, click lockdown, click. That's 4 steps they have to do. If there's a lockdown happening, your hands are doing this. All right, so it's one step. We're one step closer to that. Hopefully we can get that implemented at some point in time. Again, door contacts. Like I said, 2,000 exterior doors. Sometimes doors break. You know, it's a sad thing, but doors break. They don't latch all the time. The officers help check all the doors. The schools check all the doors. Teachers check doors. But it's one of the things I would like to put a little more technology on our doors. If the door's not shut and latched, I would like this door to start making a beeping sound. So somebody in the neighborhood can come, somebody around that hallway in the school can come shut that door. They have door contacts that send out text messages now. It can send it to the officer of the campus or the principal to make sure that somebody's going to go check that door. And last thing, I want to thank you guys and Dr. Rollo. I have a little money in the bond for some safety and security type things, and we're going to put that money to good use for some more protection for our students. One of the items in there is playground fencing for elementary schools, just to make sure that somebody from the streets can't walk right up to our playgrounds and have access to students. So that's going to be one of the about 7 or 8 things that we're going to do with safety and security with the bond money. So guys, that's all I have. Thank y'all for listening to me. I appreciate it. Is there any questions, comments, or concerns?
So, quick question. As we're all aware, some legislation was passed in this last session that was, I think, surprisingly found out yesterday was championed by our youngest state rep, Caroline Fairley out of Amarillo, but the cell phone ban. A lot of the negative comments, I guess I would say, on the cell phone ban had to do with safety and security. You know, if something happens, if there's an active shooter situation at a school, you know, I want my child to have their phone. I guess my question is, with all of these things that you have in place, with the upcoming technological advances, some of the, you know, bond money that we're going to spend, would you say that our safety and security systems are robust enough that negates the, you know, a kid pulling their phone out and that being the, you know, the way that people are informed of something happening?
Luckily, a lot of the software systems we use, like Stop It, they can access on their Chromebooks. And, you know, it worried me to start out the year a little bit. Hey, am I going to get as many Stop It's in now as I was getting before? And the answer is yes. I'm getting
So with tens of thousands of Chromebooks out there and out during class, that could be used as an alternative to
the same way that the cell phones were being used. And really, apps like Stop It are very helpful after school hours, and students are still using their phones. They can still access Stop It on their phones for after school hours. So the cell phone ban hasn't really affected the safety and security department as much as some people might think it could have.
And in lockdown situations, the only other question I had was, when a reunification situation is necessary, my understanding is you all have a reunification team that you can deploy at any time. So the folks who are a part of that get that message and they know what they need to do, where they need to go.
You know, it's sorry, over here we have Amanda Castro-Christ right here, and we've already had a few meetings to talk about emergency messaging that goes out during a crisis situation. Even yesterday when we had a power outage go at the school, I think we had a conversation within 5 minutes of that power outage going out, because one of the first things we want to do is get a message to all the parents with the right information. If students are texting their parents, I don't know if that information is going to be 100% accurate, but if it's coming from Lubbock ISD, the messaging is more likely to be correct. And we want to make sure we continue the messaging. It's not messaging every 15 minutes in any type of emergency situation that happens there. Yeah.
Shane, will you talk a little bit about control?
Sure.
Different from
Yeah. Yes. If you remember years ago, we had some TikTok posts. I think they hit Facebook and Instagram. I think they had every social media outlet that we had.
Ricky Powell remembers this.
Remember, Jack? and basically these messages blew up on social media, and parents were getting worried and all those things. So what ended up happening at a lot of our schools at the same time, hundreds of parents came to the schools to check their students out at exactly the same time. And what happened is we started getting lines outside on the sidewalk, and it just didn't have the best look and with everything. And so we came up with kind of a new way of dealing with this type of situation. So like yesterday with the power outage that we have, I have what's called a controlled release team. It's about 20-something central office workers, and it could actually be more if we needed more, that we can deploy them to the schools, and they have access to frontline teams. They can look up every student. So when parents come, we can find that student quickly within the school and get them reunited with their parent at the school. One, to keep those lines down, and two, just, you don't want a big mob growing at these schools and everything. So far, it's worked well. We haven't had any of these lines at any one of these campuses, and we've had any incidents so far. So controlled release, good thing that we put in.
Well, I think, in these real life situations, unfortunately, the first instinct or reaction for a lot of people is going to be panic. So commend you all and your departments on your work. I think having the infrastructure and the systems and the processes and then the training around that is critical for when something does actually happen.
Thank you, appreciate it.
For everything you've done. Seems like you're trying to bring us in to technology. I saw the vendor out at Tasby that had those little clicks, and she explained everything to me. Those are actually really cool. So
Yeah.
happy to hear you say that might be the future for us, because I think it's instrumental to take care of some of the issues that my colleague just said, as a matter of fact, quickly, and safety, of course. So thank you. The protocol, I've noticed you have it in most everything that you just mentioned. That's great to have a protocol in place. Instead of everybody scrambling chicken without a head.
Yes.
So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you, Lala.
Yeah. We appreciate it. I think for the most part, our kids, I think school is one of the safest places in the city that they can be, and I appreciate you and your team and Chief and his team for continuing to make that a reality. So thank you. Thank you for the presentation.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Shane.
Moving on, board operating procedures, Dr. Rollo.
Yeah, so just to refresh your memories, last year when we were part of the SGS board pilot training, we worked with the SGS team to develop a draft. We took 3 different districts' board operating procedures and developed our own draft, taking bits and pieces that we liked from other districts. We talked about these in June when we had our board retreat. And then I'm bringing this draft back to you today. Again, this is still just a draft, but pending our finalization, we would like to bring this to you October 30th, if we're ready, for your approval of our board operating procedures. So what I'd like for us to do is just take a little bit of time. I sent these to you Friday in the board update, but if we could go through each section and see if there's any adjustments that you guys would like to consider us making to this. The first section is the Lubbock ISD Board of Trustees Code of Ethics. So I'm really just opening this up for you guys to discuss if there's anything that you would like to adjust or change.
Definitely a work in progress still. So it's a lot to take in.
Any suggestions?
Matches what we went over.
Okay.
We've
The
reviewed this
second
several
section?
times, so.
is developing meeting agendas, and it references BE Local and BEC Legal. The next one is section 3, conduct during board meetings. The next one is section 4, individual board member request for information or report. Section 5 is board member visit to school campus. Section 6, inquiries, complaints to the board. Section 7 is around communications. Eight is electing officers and committees of the board. Nine is board communication with legal counsel. Ten is superintendent evaluation. Eleven is board self-evaluation. And 12 is concerns with board operating procedures and compliance.
Dr. Roll, I'll go back to page 13, so the electing officers. Just to correct, the paragraphs there, I don't think are lettered correctly. I don't think. Should be A and B, correct? Electing officers.
Which, I can't
Oh,
hear you.
yes,
Sorry,
I
Beth.
see what you mean.
It's just a correction in
Change that to A and B.
numbering. Page
Gotcha.
13,
That's right.
it's
Got it.
no,
Thank you.
no changes,
Gotcha.
A and B instead of 9 and 10.
That's an easy change.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would just say that what you sent out Friday and today matches, that this will be the 5th time we've gone over this. And so, to my colleagues and those that aren't here as well, and we'll make sure that they know, but this will be on the agenda at the end of the month for approval. And so if you want one final time to review and get back with Kathy on anything that you have an issue with or anything that you don't feel meets what we discussed, please share it. We can hammer that out prior to the 30th to make sure that Nancy and Jason are aware of the same. But this is the vast majority of us were in the room for all 5 of those times. So anyway, appreciate everybody's input and work on that, and really just just like we have our goals, this is a guide to how we should operate, and when we do, God forbid, we run into problems, reference this as to how we work through that. So, any questions or thoughts on that, ladies, gentlemen?
It's a good guide. It's a good read, a useful and up-to-date document. I think, like you said, thanks for everyone's work on it. But It's a good reference. I mean, even the code of ethics, you know, good reminders in there of the role we should be playing as board members and being involved in the community and et cetera.
It's clean, cut, dry. The fact that it hasn't been visited in years, this is great, something that people can look at and look into. So I definitely appreciate that we put this into work and finally did something. And hey, here it is, you know, that was very old.
Yes, it was.
So thanks to everybody that's been instrumental in doing so.
Dr. Rollo, do we have need for a closed session?
We do.
Okay. Executive closed session will be held under the provisions of Texas Government Code Chapter 551. It is 8:03 a.m. and we are adjourned to closed session.